The number one question that I get asked most often about my move to New Zealand is, how much does it cost to live there? What is the cost of living? Is it expensive? Is it not? So today I'm going to attempt to answer that question for you by showing you how much money I spent in New Zealand over a period of 3 months, and hopefully that can give you some indication about exactly how much it can cost to live here, or how expensive or cheap it might be for you. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shackles of Debt. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Tembi, and on this channel I talk about money, debt and financial literacy. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the cost of living in New Zealand. I thought the best way to sort of give people an indication of how much it might cost them to live here is for me to take my real numbers and to actually show you how much I spent over a 3-month period. So what I've done is I've taken all of my expenses, written down every single thing I spent money on in November, December and January. I'll be covering important things like utilities, rent, going out, transport, travel, etc. So before I get into it, I just want to give you a little bit of context. So I actually do my budget every 2 weeks, but I thought that for the purposes of this video, I'll just compile everything into monthly chunks. And also I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in the center of Auckland, and I live alone. So my rent price might either surprise you or shock you depending on which end of the spectrum you're coming from. So I'm only going to be talking about how much I spent, and I'm not going to be talking about my income. If that's a video that you would like me to do, then yes, please leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know. And also I'm not including how much I save or invest. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the spreadsheet, and then I'm going to break down each category and each cost, and then we will have a look at the totals for each month, you know, November, December, January, and then we can have a look and see how much I spent. And like I said, hopefully that will give you a rough idea for how much it might cost you to live over here in Auckland. So as you can see, I've broken down my expenses into November 2021, December 2021 and January 2022. And within each month, I've got categories. So I've got food. So I've got things like groceries, takeaways, work lunches, outings, dinners, home utilities, which include things like rent, water, electricity. And then I've got transport, which includes like car, petrol, anything to do with my car or travel. And then I've got my other utilities, such as my phone and Wi-Fi, my subscriptions, such as Audible and Spotify. And then I've got a general miscellaneous category. And that's for sort of like extra costs of things that don't necessarily need to be named in the budget. And for each month, as you can see, I budget a certain amount of money for sort of general / miscellaneous things. And then I've then broken it down into the budget. So that's how much I budgeted for each thing. And then over here, I've got how much I actually spent. So yeah, now going through each month, starting with November 2021. So for my groceries, I budgeted $360 for the month of November. And I came up to this figure because I was spending, you know, sometimes between roughly 60, 70, maybe sometimes $80 a week on groceries. So I just thought, you know what, if I budget for $180 every 2 weeks, which comes up to $360 a month, that should be enough. And in November, I underspent. So I started shopping at Pack and Save. And over here in New Zealand, Pack and Save is the cheapest supermarket. You know, there's like Countdown, there is like Faro, there is New World, and Pack and Save is the cheapest one of them all. And then what I also started doing was going to like, you know, corner shops and like little markets to get my produce for, you know, my fruits and vegetables. So actually that brought down this cost like dramatically for me. So that's what I would recommend. And then for takeaways, I budgeted $50, but I overspent and ended up getting $80. And that's because there were a few days where I was just too lazy to cook and just got like some Uber Eats. Work lunches. So I do batch cook. I cook my lunch for work every week, but then sometimes I'm just too lazy, or sometimes I might get like coffee as like a team or whatever. And I budgeted $20 and I ended up spending $40. I overspent massively. So outings / dinners. So this is like, if I go out with friends, if I go out clubbing, if I go for brunch with a friend or whatever, if I meet up with someone, this is what this outing / dinners category is for. And in November, we were still in the middle of a lockdown. So, I had nowhere to go. Everything was closed. So that's why, budget was zero and I didn't spend anything on that. Home utilities. My rent is $1,680 per month, which is broken down into $420 a week. Now, for me, I wanted to live somewhere, that was like of good quality, because New Zealand is known for having housing that is sometimes not up to standard. It can be moldy, cold, drafty, with no heating, etc. That's what quite a lot of New Zealand houses are. And I wanted to live somewhere that had heating, had double glazing, was new build, and that's what I did. I found a 1-bedroom flat in the city centre which ticks all of those boxes. And yes, it's not cheap. $420 is the price that it comes up to every month, but for me it's worth it because it's a nice building, it's a safe area, I feel comfortable here, I love where I'm living. And then going on to the water bill. So the water bill in November was expensive because this was actually the first bill that I'd gotten, and what they did was they added like a setup fee to the total charge, so that's why it was $92.70 in November. However, on the other months, as you can see, it does actually decline and decrease. For electricity, as you can see, it's $92.30 for all of the months. But that is because I get my electricity bill every 3 months. So what I then have to do is to just divide it by 3 and that's when I get an average of how much I spent on electricity on each month. And yes, as you can see, $92.30 for each month from November all the way to January is how much I spent on electricity. Moving on to the next one, which is transport. The public transport system here isn't the best, and if you want to sort of get out of Auckland, get out and about, etc., you do need a car. So yeah, that's what I did. I got a car pretty soon after I arrived, and my car is on finance. So that comes up to $355 every single month. So yeah, for petrol, the car is a cute little 1.3 litre engine, so it doesn't take a lot to fill up, and it's actually quite, fuel efficient. But because, I'm still new here, I'm still traveling, I'm going on a lot of road trips, that means I'm paying maybe quite a lot more in petrol than the average person who, has lived here forever probably would. So I budget every single month $180, which is 2 full tanks of fuel. And in November, I underspent by $3 because I spent $177. Now, this is the one that I hate the most, which is my parking space. And, if you live in the city, the struggle, what I'm talking about. There's no parking anywhere and you've got to pay for parking. And I absolutely hate this payment, but you know what? I'm in the city. What else can I expect? So yes, I pay $378 a month for my parking every single month. And other utilities, so that's my phone and my Wi-Fi. So my phone, I pay $39.99. So my phone is SIM only and I'm with Spark network. That's for unlimited text, unlimited data. For Wi-Fi, I've got fiber optic broadband with Spark. And for me, that comes up to $70 a month. Subscriptions, yes, as you can see, I don't have a lot of subscriptions. I only do Audible and Spotify. And that's because, my sister pays for Amazon, my dad pays for Netflix, and I think my brother pays for Disney. So I just, use their accounts. So if my Audible comes up to $16.35 every single month, and that's what I paid. And for Spotify, $14.99, and that's what I paid. And then for general / miscellaneous spending, so these are things that don't necessarily even need to be named, because these are sort of like expenses that I don't spend every single month. So for example, the other day I had to go get a new pot for one of my plants, and then that comes under this general miscellaneous spending because I don't get plant pots every single month. You see what I mean? So yeah, so I budget a certain amount of money for that each month, and this particular month I budgeted $200, and then I only spent $53.45. For the month of November, I budgeted to spend $3,549.79, and I actually underspent, and I actually ended up spending $3,350.71. So what I normally do is that if I underspend on something, if I underspend in a particular category, I then roll over that amount of money onto the next month. And now going into December for everyone is a very, very, very tricky month. It's Christmas, there's presents, there's parties. December was a very expensive month for me because number one, lockdown had lifted, so I was not able to go out to restaurants and bars. And then I also had presents to buy for people, my family back home and for my friends down here. And also I was hosting Christmas dinner. Me and my friends were doing a Christmas dinner. So what I tried to do was to budget for as much of those anticipated Christmas costs as possible. And I also spent quite a lot of money, as you will see. So right now, yes, December, I again budgeted $360, but I underspent by quite a lot. I only spent $178 in December for my groceries. And that's because I sort of went out for a few Christmas meals, as well as me and my friends, we did a Christmas dinner over here, and there was a lot of food that was left over. So that means I just didn't need to actually buy much in December. So it only came out to $178. So yeah, I saved quite a lot, and then I carried this money over into January. For takeaways, I budgeted again $50, but again, I just overspent. Yeah, I really need to stop getting Uber Eats and delivery. Work lunches, I budgeted $20, but I actually ended up spending $50. And that's because I just buy a lot of coffee every single day, when I'm going to work, and I buy some for my colleagues as well. And sometimes, again, like I said, I sometimes get lazy to eat the food that I brought in from home, and then I just end up getting a takeaway. Yeah, that's not good. So outings/dinners, I budgeted $150, but I actually ended up spending $220. Up until this point, New Zealand had been in a lockdown. So I didn't actually know how much it would cost to go out for dinner, to go clubbing, etc. So I only budgeted $150, and I didn't anticipate just how much it actually would end up being. So yes, I overspent by a solid $70 on outings. And then going down again into home utilities, these are very similar to last month. So again, $1,680 for my rent. And my water bill actually came down. I had budgeted $62.70 because I don't know why I came up with that number, but actually my water bill for that month ended up coming to $63.45. And that came down, like I said, because on this first month I had gotten an account setup fee charge. But anyway, it then leveled out to $63.45. And my electricity was $92.30, like I'd said before. And then going down into transport, my car payment is the same every month. Petrol, I budgeted $180 again, but I only spent $158 of my own money on petrol. And this was predominantly because, me and a friend of mine, we did a big road trip in December. We went to 2 different cities because the Auckland border had now opened, and she contributed to some of the cost of the petrol. So actually, I ended up spending way less of my own money anyway. So yes, this came up to $158, and the difference I then rolled over into next month's petrol. My parking space again was the same at $378. My phone bill, I budgeted $39.99, but I spent $43.70. And that's because I accidentally called one of my friends back in England. So yeah, they charged me an extra, $3 for that particular phone call, which is really, really annoying. For my Wi-Fi, again, $70. That was fine. Subscriptions are the same. $16.35 for Audible and $14.99 for Spotify. And then for general miscellaneous, I had budgeted $250 for Christmas presents. So this is Christmas presents for my family back in the UK and my friends down here. And I know it's quite a tight budget, but I really did not want to spend a load of money because I knew I was gonna have to pay to get it delivered, etc. So I only budgeted $250. So my Christmas presents, I underspent by $2, which was amazing. Love that. Christmas dinner, like I said, me and my friends, we did a Christmas dinner together and we were gonna put in, $50 each, but I ended up overspending and I spent $83.60. And that's mainly because I had to go get the meat and the meat was really expensive. So I overspent by $33. New Year's Eve, I budgeted $120. And again, this was just for my drinks, my Ubers, my party outfit. I actually underspent. I ended up only spending $80, and that was predominantly because the place I went to for New Year's Eve, they had free drinks. So all of this money was just my outfit and my Ubers. And then general spending. So this is again just general miscellaneous extra bits. I budgeted $50 for that, and I spent only $50. So looking at the total for December, I budgeted to spend $3,579, which was $100 more actually than the last month, but I ended up spending $3,855.28. So that was an overspend of roughly $200. So now moving on to January 2022. January has actually been my worst month in terms of spending. I have overspent by a lot. In January, I went out more times than I ever have, and then just spending money on rubbish. January was not a good month, and it's not a accurate reflection of how I normally am with money. I swear I'm normally better than this. So yeah, January, we start off at the top with food. I budgeted $360 of my groceries. I underspent because I ended up only spending $305. For takeaways, I again budgeted $50, but I only got $22 worth of takeaways. Work lunches, I budgeted $20, but I ended up spending $72, which is just awful. And this was because I wasn't cooking a lot. I didn't make a lot of my own lunch in January. So I actually ended up just spending lots of money on, food whilst I was at work. Outings/dinners, I'd only budgeted $150, but I spent $305.67. I was sort of saying yes to a lot of invitations. Yeah, I just overspent really. Home utilities, this is the same. My rent is the same. My water bill went up by $5 to $67.80. And then my electricity bill was $92.30 for January. And then transport was the same. My car payment is the same every month. My petrol, I had budgeted $180, but I underspent by $10, and I actually ended up spending $170. My parking space was the same. Other utilities, phone, Wi-Fi, $39.99, $70, pretty much the same. And my Audible and Spotify were the same. And I had budgeted $200 for general miscellaneous spending, but I ended up spending $300. And that's because, the Boxing Day sales and, there were leftover Black Friday sales. I just, bought some clothes and I kind of went crazy on that one. So as you can see, January, my worst month ever, because I budgeted $3,674, but I actually spent $3,890.94. So yes, that was a breakdown of all of my expenses for the last 3 months. And I hope that it gives you a really good indication of what you might expect to pay in New Zealand, or how much things might end up costing for you over here. For me personally, I find it, it's more than affordable. I am able to still save and invest and have money left over at the end of each month, despite how much I'm spending. But for you, your circumstances are going to be completely different. Was this more expensive than you expected or cheaper than you expected? Anyway, let me know in the comments section down below. Check out my social medias and check out my blog. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.